will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For
Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Tony, and I'm here with Nikki. We invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel, Monday to Friday, between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Hello, we'll start out with an article this day from the Springfield Daily Citizen. The headline reads, Eden Village 3D printer lawsuit moves to Utah as 55-page list of seller's conditions becomes a sticking point. Eden Village signed an invoice for a robotic printer that made mention of the seller's universal terms of purchase, which requires that the printers be guarded night and day and that operators must wear clothing with a Mudbots logo. And we see a picture of some backhoes and bulldozers working on some ground. All right, in depth. It's been more than 3 years since community leaders gathered in Northwest Springfield to break ground on Eden Village 3, the nonprofit Gathering Tree's third tiny home community aimed at getting homeless people into permanent homes. But few signs of progress are visible at the property on West High Street, just west of Kansas Expressway, where there's a handful of idle construction vehicles, leveled dirt, but no structures. Work has been at a virtual standstill since Eden Village in 2024 sued Mudbots, a Utah-based company that makes high-tech 3D printers, equipment that Eden Village purchased and planned to use to build the tiny home community. Eden Village has said the printers didn't work as promised, while Mudbots alleged Eden Village wasn't using them right. 2 years later, the case is still mired in litigation, and the focus now is on 55 pages of elaborate seller's conditions that Eden Village was apparently not aware of at the time it purchased the printers from Mudbots for about $1.6 million. The requirements include that the purchased printers must be guarded night and day, that anyone operating them must wear clothing with a Mudbots logo, and that if a construction project is a failure, as deemed by Mudbots, Eden Village agrees to pay a $50,000 fine if the public finds out. Eden Village had planned for the printers, used in concrete construction, to build 12 duplexes, or 24 housing units, for Eden Village 3 on the 4.25-acre site at 2419 West High Street. Mudbots calls the 55-page document its universal terms of purchase. It covers a multitude of requirements on how Eden Village can and can't use the printers, which it bought in January of 2023. Those requirements, according to court documents filed by Mudbots, include: sites and printers need to be guarded night and day. Buyer warrants that the printer will not be unattended at any time. Buyer will provide and require print and finishing team to wear safety vests or shirts clearly representing Mudbots logos when operating the printer. Buyer warrants that they will not perform work or move the printer outside the stated area without written approval of seller. Buyer acknowledges that printers are equipped with GPS and the seller is able to track the location as a means to confirm compliance. Buyer acknowledges that the printer and accessories will not be operated without a certified pilot having been trained by seller. Training for replacement pilots will be scheduled during new customer trainings in Utah. Cost for subsequent pilot training is $2,500. Buyer acknowledges that failed prints that become public will cause irrefutable harm to seller and customers of seller. Buyer agrees to take all necessary precautions to restrict and protect against public and/or media disclosure of print failure. Buyer further agrees to damages in the amount of $50,000 should any print failure or print of questionable quality become public. Buyer grants seller full authority to determine, in seller's sole discretion, if a failure has occurred and whether to levy a fine. Buyer agrees that they will prevent ex-employees or partners from working for other companies that use a competing printer system. The Springfield Daily Citizen contacted Nate Schluter, the Chief Visionary Officer at Eden Village, for comment on the ongoing litigation. Schluter preferred that any information come from Ben Stringer, the Springfield attorney representing Eden Village. Stringer said he is working with attorneys in Utah on behalf of Eden Village. The case was transferred from Springfield to Utah at the request of Mudbots. Stringer would not comment. A review of documents filed by Mudbots in this case shows that Schluter signed an invoice for a printer. That invoice had a subhead, Terms of Purchase, with the following words underneath it. In addition to this invoice, this purchase will be governed by the conditions represented in the Universal Terms of Purchase and Training Terms available at www.mudbots.com /terms. But there is no signature from anyone from the Gathering Tree on the copy of Mudbot's Universal Terms of Purchase submitted in the court record. The document submitted to the court includes several handwritten comments, such as refused or failed, indicating that Eden Village, once it was aware of the requirements, has not complied with many of them in the view of Mudbots. An Illinois company named Ascend Construction Solutions is also involved in federal litigation with Mudbots. The issue in that lawsuit is the same as it is with Eden Village, Mudbot's Universal Terms of Purchase. Stringer, representing Eden Village, is also one of the attorneys representing Ascend. Ascend backed out of the purchase of a robotic printer from Mudbots and put a hold on a $328,364 down payment check after learning of the Universal Terms of Purchase. Mudbots then sued Ascend, which then filed a countersuit. Mudbots alleges that it was officials at Eden Village who informed the Illinois company about the 55-page Universal Terms of Purchase. As mentioned, Stringer would not comment. Ascend says Mudbots never disclosed there was a 55-page Universal Terms of Purchase until Ascend wrote the check to cover half the cost. According to Ascend, quote, Mudbots waited until after it had collected the $328,364 check from Ascend to send owner Jordan Clark the printer invoice that disclosed in fine print that Ascend's purchase of the subject printer will be governed by the conditions represented in the Universal Terms of Purchase and Training Terms, available at www.mudbots.com/terms, end quote. According to Ascend, from federal court documents, the Universal Terms of Purchase is a 55-page document that purports to convert Ascend's purchase of the subject printer into a punitive licensing agreement, one that significantly limits how Ascend can use the subject printer, where Ascend can use it, and when Ascend can use it. Mudbots asked a federal judge in Utah to dismiss the Illinois company's counter lawsuits. The judge declined to do so. The Illinois company had argued that Mudbots' Universal Terms of Purchase were unconscionable and thus unenforceable. Mudbots manufactures and sells automated robotic printers which erect buildings out of concrete. Its headquarters is in Tula, Utah, about 30 miles southwest of Salt Lake City. Mudbots began in 2020. James Lyman Roosh is the chief executive officer. He previously told the Springfield Daily Citizen that Eden Village had violated the agreement in many ways, including by allowing various media outlets to view the 3D printers in action. It only takes one picture of certain parts of our printer to save somebody in India or China 3 years of research and development, he said. They, meaning Eden Village, do a lot with the media, and they started showing our printer and basically breaching the contract in a myriad of different ways, he said. We reached out to them. They stopped talking to us. We could only talk to their attorney. When they came here to Utah for training, they were running their printers, their equipment, Roosh said. It's part of our quality control. And we have a time-lapse video of very beautiful prints that they did here under our supervision. But when they went home, all of a sudden, if you don't follow procedures, just like in an airplane, bad things are going to happen. Eden Village sued Mudbots in February 2024, alleging Mudbots has failed and refused, and continues to fail and refuse, to provide technical, customer support and/or replacement equipment as promised, and has failed and refused and continues to fail and refuse to correct the deficiencies in the function, use, and operation of the equipment sold to and paid for by Eden Village. Schluter told the Daily Citizen in February 2024, the machine doesn't work as promised. Mudbots, in its countersuit, alleges that the Gathering Tree has violated the terms of its purchase agreement by sharing the 3D printer technology and the proprietary knowledge behind it with Drury University and its architecture students. In addition, the countersuit alleges that the Gathering Tree and a Drury architecture professor have created a company called Eden Building Solutions, Limited Liability Company. The countersuit alleges Eden Building Solutions has allowed people to use the printers who were not allowed to do so. The countersuit states Eden Village misrepresented that Drury College would not be using a printer. Eden Village and its cohorts intentionally misrepresented to Mudbots that the printers would not be used publicly for educational purposes and or used by untrained personnel, knowing Mudbots would not sell to these parties. Eden Village also intentionally misrepresented its intended use of the printers, knowing before contracting with Mudbots that Eden Village intended to lodge a printer with Drury College, i.e. Drury University, for public use and display, which college supplies Eden Village with free labor and volunteers. Eden Village and Drury were fully aware that to even explore this possibility, Eden Village and Drury would have been required to submit a separate written proposal to Mudbots. A Drury University October 3, 2024 press release quotes Tracy Suter, professor of architecture and director of design and build programs. Our ongoing partnership with The Gathering Tree and now their 3D concrete printer is providing invaluable cutting-edge experiences for our architecture students that also touch the heart. The press release further states, Drury University plays a key role in supporting this effort, housing the advanced 3D concrete printers used to build affordable homes for those in need, while architecture students collaborate on the designs and builds. The release quotes a Drury architecture student as saying, "Not a lot of schools have access to technology like this, so it sets us apart by giving us real-world experience and plugging us into our community." Eden Village 1 consists of 31 tiny homes at 2801 East Division Street. Eden Village 2 is at 3155 West Brower Street and has 24 tiny homes. The tiny homes are for the chronically homeless. Residents pay a small rent. Drury's Hammond School of Architecture students and Suter have been involved in assisting with the two prior Eden Village developments. These projects did not involve the use of high-tech 3D printers. Drury has had its architecture students participate in other projects that generally involve the public good, such as the Landscapes of Resilience Butterfly Garden and Overlook in Joplin's Cunningham Park. The park was dedicated on the 3rd anniversary of the devastating 2011 tornado that struck Joplin and killed 161. This article about the universal terms of purchase actually started out as an answer man question for columnist Steve Pokin about why progress was happening so slowly at the construction site on West High Street. The Daily Citizen decided to also update the status of litigation involving Eden Village and Mudbots. The most recent story by the Daily Citizen was in February 2024. Even earlier, in November 2022, Springfield Daily Citizen reporter Jackie Rewald wrote that Schluter hoped to be moving residents into the 3rd Eden Village by the end of 2023 or early 2024. That was 2 years ago. Dr. David and Linda Brown founded Eden Village. They often refer to it as God's project. Nevertheless, in court filings, Mudbots went so far as to challenge the very mission of the Gathering Tree. The company states, defendant Mudbots denies that Eden Village has the sole goal of ensuring no members of its community sleep outside. The legal confrontation appears to be far from resolved. A judge in Utah filed a document in January stating that the likelihood of settlement is fair and that if the matter goes to trial, the trial date will be set on March 26, 2027.
From Zoe McIntyre at the Springfield Daily Citizen, a man is in jail after allegedly trying to hijack a FedEx truck on Glenstone Avenue. The story begins with a photo of a FedEx truck in traffic with 2 police officers, one inside the truck, one outside, tackling a man. Tanner Thompson of Nixa is accused of trying to steal a pickup truck in Springfield before running from police down part of South Glenstone Avenue. While fleeing, the suspect allegedly climbed into a FedEx truck and attempted to hijack it from the driver. According to court documents, 2 Springfield police officers worked together to force Thompson out of the vehicle, tackle him to the ground, and arrest him, as shown in videos that were posted in a popular Springfield Facebook group. Thompson, 26, was booked into the Greene County Jail on Monday evening, February 2nd. According to a probable cause statement, Thompson popped the hood of a pickup truck at a property near East Portland Street. A witness who was shoveling snow for the truck's owner stated that he found this odd and wanted to investigate. Thompson tried to intimidate the witness, the document says. The witness left to speak to the owner and said he returned to find Thompson tinkering with the engine compartment before getting into the truck. The owner of the truck stated that they left the house to check on the vehicle. Thompson then exited the truck and tried to break into the house through the front door before running east on East Portland Street, according to the probable cause statement. A Springfield police officer observed the hood on the truck was up, the fuse box was removed, and items that appeared to be from the glove box were moved onto the seat, the document says. A Springfield police officer then responded to the area of South Glenstone Avenue and East Cinderella Street because a man was, quote, attempting to get into vehicles, the probable cause statement says. The officer spotted the suspect, later identified as Thompson, in the parking lot of the Casey's gas station at Glenstone Avenue and East Portland Street. When Thompson saw the officer in a marked police vehicle, he fled on foot, according to the document. Thompson then entered a stopped FedEx truck on Glenstone. The statement says the officer pursuing Thompson observed him attempting to wrestle the steering wheel away from the driver and yelling, "Go, go, go." Videos of the incident show the officer forcing Thompson out of the vehicle. Police tackled the suspect to the ground and took him into custody. Following is a booking photo of Tanner Thompson from the Greene County Jail. He's not looking very happy. Prosecutors wrote that Thompson tried to push his foot onto the gas pedal to get the FedEx truck to move, but the driver alertly kept his foot on the brake to keep the vehicle stopped. Thompson is charged with second-degree burglary, vehicle hijacking, and resisting/interfering with arrest for a felony. According to court documents, he is a persistent offender with a felony record. In June of 2020, he was found guilty of second-degree assault and first-degree tampering in Greene County.
Today in history, February 4th, Walt Disney's Folly that earned $180 million. We see a black and white picture of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. On this day in 1938, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs hit theaters nationwide, forever changing animation and saving Walt Disney from bankruptcy. The first full-length animated feature film, it took 3 years and $1.5 million, which would be $36 million today, 6 times its original budget, to make, and it required 400 additional employees, tripling the size of Walt Disney Productions. Walt mortgaged his house, sold his car, and borrowed against his life insurance to finish what critics derided as Disney's folly. He was betting it all on a color cartoon movie, something that had never been made before. He had already pushed the boundaries of animation with sound in 1928 and color in 1932, but a full-length cartoon was a whole new level of risk. Hollywood was skeptical. Audiences loved Disney's Mickey Mouse shorts, but they were appetizers, not entrees. No one knew if successful 7-minute bits would translate to a full-length story, until it did. Snow White, a family-friendly telling of the Brothers Grimm fairy tale, debuted at the Carthay Circle Theater on December 21, 1937, to a Hollywood audience that included Shirley Temple, Hedy Lamarr, Clark Gable, Charlie Chaplin, and Marlene Dietrich. Another 30,000 fans gathered outside. Walt watched nervously. The audience watched, engrossed. They gave it a standing ovation. Next, the film landed at New York's Radio City Music Hall for a 5-week run, longer than any other film there to date. And finally, on this day in February, it opened to audiences across the United States. Theaters had to add multiple screenings daily to accommodate the crowds. Sydney and London followed, and soon Snow White was showing in more than 40 countries. The film grossed $8 million, or about $184 million today, in its first year, and went on to become one of the highest grossing of all time. Disney also revolutionized marketing with Snow White. It was the first film to have a soundtrack for sale. Toy sales reportedly reached $2 million the first year. There were 2,183 different licensed merchandise items available, everything from drinking glasses to seeds, presumably not including apples. Walt immediately started production on 3 more animated features. And Snow White? She got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for the film's 50th anniversary. By the numbers, it says 250,000 handmade drawings were used in the film. $400 million plus is the lifetime gross from ticket sales for all Snow White releases. 7 reels of film were the amount needed to store the full-length film. And a fun fact about this, rejected dwarfs included Awful, Crabby, Weepy, Flabby, Dirty, Dumpy, Hungry, Lazy, Nifty, Chesty, Shifty, and Biggie Wiggy. Who knew?
How fun. In more serious news from the Springfield News-Leader and Marta Meese comes a lawsuit that blames the Springfield landfill worker's death on faulty equipment. Nearly a year ago, a former Springfield police officer died while working at the Springfield Noble Sanitary Landfill. Now his wife has filed a lawsuit against a dump truck manufacturer, the dealers selling the vehicles, and a repair service provider while claiming faulty equipment and maintenance resulted in the worker's death. Larry Flett, a solid waste operations associate, was driving an articulated dump truck at the landfill when it overturned and caught fire March 24, 2025. The lawsuit filed by his wife, Lori Flett, in Greene County Circuit Court on Tuesday, January 27th, states an autopsy revealed he died of smoke inhalation and thermal burns without having suffered any other potentially fatal injuries. The Fletts had been married for 43 years. The lawsuit is brought against Caterpillar, Inc., the designer and manufacturer of the dump truck Larry Flett was driving, Fabric Bros Equipment Company, doing business as Fabric Cat, which markets and sells the equipment, and Pomp's Tire Service, Inc., along with 5 of its employees who serviced the vehicle Larry Flett was driving the Friday before the accident. According to court documents, Pomp's had a contract with the city to perform certain service work on the dump truck. On Friday, March 21st, 5 Pomp's employees changed and serviced all 6 of the vehicle's tires, which for the Caterpillar 740 articulated dump truck required an AI ring gasket. After the weekend, when Larry Flett was using the truck and descending a hill, witnesses observed the dump truck moving at an appropriate speed, yet seeming out of control. Near the bottom of the hill, the truck slid off the side of the road, and the cab rolled over roughly 450 degrees, ending up on its passenger side, according to the lawsuit, instantly catching fire. The court document states after the incident, one of the tires of the dump truck was found to be deflated, and further inspection allegedly revealed the tire had been installed without the O-ring gasket, and a wheel locking device had been misinstalled. Larry Flett was wearing a seatbelt at the time of the accident. The lawsuit claims Caterpillar designed and manufactured a defective and unreasonably dangerous vehicle, and Fabric then marketed and sold that defective product, making each liable and negligent in Flett's death. The court document lists the following as the factors that contributed to the defectiveness of the equipment: that the cab was not designed to keep operators safe in case of a fire, the design and construction of the cab kept Larry Flett trapped and unable to escape the fire, the cab was, quote, unnecessarily susceptible to rollover, the dump truck was not equipped with tire air pressure sensors, and the wheels were designed to require the O-ring gasket, among other conditions. In claiming Fabric in particular was negligent and careless, the lawsuit alleges it failed to counsel the city about available technology like a tire monitoring system and failed to provide proper training to city employees. Pomp's and 5 of its employees who serviced the vehicle also faced negligence claims that allege the service provider improperly installed tires and allowed, quote, unqualified and untrained employees to complete the work, directly causing or contributing to the damages to the Fletts. None of the defendants could be reached for comment by publication deadline. The lawsuit seeks monetary damages in the excess of $25,000, both for the pain and suffering Larry Flett suffered and the losses of companionship, comfort, and support Lori Flett has and continues to suffer. Larry Flett previously was a Springfield police officer for 9 years, from 1989 through 1998, and had served in the Air Force for 6 years until his discharge in 1988. According to his obituary, he had also worked as an accident reconstructionist and a Greene County bailiff. He was survived by his parents, wife, 2 daughters, and 3 grandkids.
We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store, situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews with Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informative material, please visit our YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education. And now, from checkaday.com, today, again February 4th, is National Homemade Soup Day. Why buy it in a can when it can be made from scratch at home? Homemade soup is healthier, fresher, and cheaper by the ounce than its canned counterpart, and the person eating it gets to control what gets put in it. When homemade soup is made, there usually is enough to fill many bowls, not just one, which is another advantage of celebrating today's holiday. National Homemade Soup Day. Taking place in February, the perfect time of the year for soup for those living in many parts of the Northern Hemisphere, this soup-centric day has been observed since at least 1999. A few of the most common soups are chicken noodle, minestrone, and tomato. Other favorites include French onion, butternut squash, beef and barley, navy bean and ham, chicken and rice, split pea, matzo ball, and gazpacho. Soups may be placed in three main categories: brothy, chunky, or pureed. Brothy soups, like matzo ball, have a large amount of liquid and a lesser amount of other ingredients. With chunky soups like chowder, black bean, and minestrone, vegetables soften, the liquid reduces, starches thicken, and flavors deepen. Pureed soups like bisque and tomato start with a base like onions, a few ingredients then are added, and it is simmered and then blended. Most homemade soups are started with a fat like butter or oil. An aromatic base such as garlic and onions, mirepoix, sofrito, or shallots and ginger comes next, and seasonings are then added. Stock or broth is then added. For a soup to be fully homemade, homemade stock or broth should be used, not canned or boxed. Japanese soups like miso or ramen don't start with aromatics and use a stock called dashi. Coconut milk and dairy, like heavy cream, are also used as the liquid in some soups. Following the stock or broth, the main ingredients like vegetables, legumes, meat, grains, and pasta are added. The soup is brought to a boil and then simmered. Before being served, some soups are topped with garnishes like sour cream, cilantro, parsley, dill, cheese, onions, croutons, and seeds. And with that, homemade soup is ready to be served, and National Homemade Soup Day can be celebrated in full. Now, how do you observe National Homemade Soup Day? Well, of course, celebrate the day by making and eating homemade soup. You could find a recipe that suits you and get cooking, or you could throw caution to the wind and dream up your own soup, bringing together some of your favorite vegetables, meat, seasonings, and grains.
Oh, soup sounds so nice today. In addition to National Homemade Soup Day, some other holidays today include I Heart Horror Day, Liberace Day, National Creative Vacuum Day, National Hemp Day, and World Read Aloud Day, which is very relevant as Springfield News-Leader tells us the Springfield Library District launches a study of the future facilities needs. Janice Reeser tells us the Springfield Greene County Library District has hired Paragon Architecture to assess the condition and needs of its 10 facilities. The assessment is part of the library system's 2026 to 2030 strategic plan, which includes a goal of providing aesthetically pleasing and functional spaces, according to a community announcement. Paragon Architecture was selected for the project after a request for proposals in October 2025. The assessment will include an analysis of both owned and leased facilities to determine short and long-term maintenance needs over the next decade. It will also estimate the cost and type of maintenance or capital improvements needed at each facility. In addition to analyzing existing facilities, Paragon Architecture will prepare a footprint assessment and a population trend analysis, according to the announcement. The study is expected to begin soon, with findings to be reported to the library's Board of Trustees in late spring. Our vision is to be a thriving library that is an integral part of the lives of the community, Executive Director Ed Walton said in the announcement. This study will help us determine the future of our existing infrastructure and identify opportunities for future growth. The Springfield Greene County Library District serves Greene County through its 10 branches. For more information, visit thelibrary.org or contact Vicki Hicks, Community Relations Director, at 417-616-0564 or VICKIEH@thelibrary.org.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, we've got a headline that reads, "How adding another Highway 65 exit in Ozark could shape development in Christian County." A proposed interchange at Longview Road made it onto the Ozarks Transportation Organization's 5-year list of priorities again, although it is at least a few years away from potentially being funded. And we see a computer-generated drawing of a new interchange in Ozark. Cresting the hill south of the Highway 60-65 interchange, Ozark is about 3 miles away. There are 3 opportunities to enter the city from the highway. The first 2 interchanges are at routes CC and 14 or Jackson Street. The exit at State Highway F or South Street is the last opportunity to hit a fast food or coffee drive-through before the highway leads into the billboard-dotted hills toward Branson. A 4th exit at Route EE is also within Ozark city limits, although the surrounding farmland is not. Kristen Hazeltine, CEO of the economic development group Show Me Christian County, said people in her office have spoken to area transportation leaders about creating another interchange in Ozark for more than a decade. "I think the fact that OTO, which is the Ozarks Transportation Organization, has been involved in the conversation for so long, it has of course been talked about with leadership, probably even at the state level," Hazeltine said. Business leaders identified Longview Road, 1.5 miles south of Highway CC, as an ideal location for another interchange. It was a big win when OTO added the Longview interchange to its State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, priorities list in 2019, Hazeltine said. The project was included again in the 27 through 2031 list of priorities OTO adopted in November 2025. It will likely be several years before funding could be secured for the proposed interchange, but officials in Ozark and Nixa are already planning for the potential impact. What will it take to create a new exit? The cost associated with building a highway interchange can vary significantly, explained OTO Executive Director Sarah Fields. She said $30 million is an estimate. "The proposed interchange is not the most urgent need right now," Fields said. She sees it as more of an economic development project than a transportation need. OTO assesses the priority of projects based on factors like safety, traffic volume, congestion, and road conditions. Economic development is also a factor. Fields stated her organization is taking crashes on Highway 65 into account. If studies demonstrate congestion on other thoroughfares would be alleviated by the Longview interchange, OTO would also take that into consideration. OTO has already selected the projects it will complete through 2030, Fields said, and Longview Road was not one of those selections. Most years, only 1 or 2 projects can be funded. It has been almost 30 years since a new interchange was built in Ozark. The exits at routes F and EE were built in 1997, according to MoDOT Southwest District Communications Manager Jennifer Williams. Interchanges at routes CC and 14 came online in 1987 and 1976, respectively. Ozark adopted its Onward Ozark plan in January 2025. It includes a proposal for a mixed-use development dubbed the Enterprise District, which would capitalize on the proposed interchange at Longview Road. The Onward Ozark plan says the Enterprise District should be promoted and marketed as an essential activity center of Ozark and the region. It would incorporate a variety of land uses, including green space for a sports park, commercial space, and residential areas. According to the plan, this area could become a major economic engine for the city, supported by the new interchange, which would be located on the west side of the Enterprise District. Based on the Onward Ozark Plan and records from the Christian County Assessor's Office, the proposed development would be about 200 acres in size. The land has not yet been annexed into the city. It is divided into several parcels owned by different companies, according to Assessor's Office records. Outside of the proposed district, the interchange could benefit other areas of Ozark and Nixa. Ozark Public Works Director Jeremy Parsons pointed to acres of undeveloped land around the area of Longview Road. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but an interchange does lend itself to better accessibility and opportunities in that area, and we see it as another east-to-west connector to Nixa, he said. We're trying to look at that as a northern Christian County benefit because a lot of people sometimes don't want to drive 160. If they can take 65, which is now a 6-lane road, and pull off of Longview, Longview connects right onto Main Street in Nixa. Longview Road terminates on Fremont Road, where Nixa's North Street begins. Although traffic studies have not analyzed the potential impact of a new interchange, officials in both Ozark and Nixa expect it would change traffic patterns. That would flow directly into our city on North Street, which is obviously something that we're watching because we're going to have to consider the impacts of that, the Nixa City Administrator Jimmy Lyle says. Working with OTO, Nixa previously identified North Street as a corridor that needs to be improved for better functionality. The hilly street is a connection to the community center and junior high, Century Elementary, and High Point Elementary/Summit Intermediate schools. The city used federal funds to create a design for North Street improvements. That project is going to consist of a lot of fills and cuts in the grading, simply because of the peaks and valleys in there, said Street Department Superintendent Jeff Russell. We want to improve sight distance. We want to provide some kind of pedestrian accommodation for that, and I believe there will be a 4-foot sidewalk on one side and then a wider trail on the other side. According to Russell, the estimated cost for the project when it was initially designed was around $6 to $7 million. Based on the inflation of infrastructure expenses, he believes it could cost about $12 million today. Securing a source of funding for the project is the next step, said Travis Cossey, Interim Director of Utilities and Public Works. There will come a time, if there's a large investment in another intersection or something that will bring that traffic in, that will certainly elevate that need and guide Nixa towards trying to get that improvement accomplished, Cossey said. The Streets Department recently started work on a smaller project that will tie in the future North Street pedestrian improvements. On January 13th, the Nixa City Council adopted a resolution allowing the Streets Department to solicit bids for a new multi-use trail on Cheyenne Road. Nixa budgeted $1.2 million for the project in its most recent capital improvement plan and received a grant through the federal government that will reimburse 80% of the expense. The trail will span about 3,000 feet along parts of Cheyenne Road and North Street, connecting High Point Elementary and Summit Intermediate to the Cheyenne Valley subdivision. Russell expects it will be completed before the end of 2026.
Several obituaries this week from the Springfield News-Leader. First, we have Kenny Dean Smith, 78, of Charlotte, North Carolina, was called home to be with his Lord on January 28, 2026, following a courageous battle with cancer. He is survived by Jean Smith Morrison, whom he married on September 1st, 1967. Their marriage of 58 years was a testament to commitment and devotion. Also surviving him are his 3 daughters, Terry Wright Christopher of Madison, Alabama, Christy Peltier David of Wesley Chapel, North Carolina, and Penny Grider Bryan of Charlotte, North Carolina. He was granddad to Ethan, Bennett, Enley Wright, and Harlan Puckett. He was also dad to many furry children who he adored. Singing was always an important part of his life. His involvement in the Barbershop Harmony Society was something he loved. He was an active member for 45 years. His rich voice and passion for harmony brought joy to countless people. He was a member of several quartets over the years and loved performing with them for audiences whenever the opportunity was presented. He was a member of the First Baptist Church Matthews for 40 years. Kenny's warm smile and quick wit will forever be remembered by all who knew him. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to Abundant Life class at First Baptist Church, 185 South Trade Street, North Carolina, 28105. Next, we have Evelyn Jean Radosevich, 93, who passed away peacefully on January 15, 2026 in Southold, New York. She was born on October 4, 1932 in Springfield, Missouri, to George and Stella Vizio, completing the family as the youngest of three. Raised in Springfield, Evelyn attended Roundtree Grade School and graduated from Greenwood High School in 1950. She attended Missouri State University for a year before choosing a career as a secretary and meeting her soulmate, Donald Don Radosevich. They married in 1956 and moved around a lot before settling in Kansas City, Missouri to raise a family. Evelyn and Don built a cabin on Pomme de Terre Lake in Hermitage, Missouri in 1966 and happily retired there in 1997. While the couple relocated to the North Fork of Long Island in 2016 to be closer to family, they deeply loved Missouri and believed that a part of them would always be there. Evelyn was the family's designated green thumb, not only nurturing her own impressive garden over the years, but also advising her kids and grandkids on their own horticultural projects. She was known to surprise and delight children by pulling small toys from her purse and even whipping up the occasional balloon animal. Her passion for young people manifested in her volunteer work, which included reading to kids at the local library and doing door-to-door advocacy for education initiatives. Never one to share her chocolate treats, Evelyn took any opportunity to share a joke, emailing her favorites to friends and family, and even sneaking some in with her monthly rent payment. Evelyn is predeceased by her beloved husband of 68 years, Dawn, and siblings Hank Vizio and Peggy Abernathy. She is survived by her daughter, Julie Vince Townsend of Durango, Colorado, son, Jim A.J. Radosevich of Southold, New York, grandsons, Trip Laura Townsend of San Francisco and Carson Ramsey Townsend of Dublin, Ireland, and granddaughter, Sage Dave Townsend of Portland, Oregon, as well as her cherished grandpuppies, Hudson, Poppy, Lego, Alma, Curie, and Costa. There will be a celebration of life in Missouri in the fall of 2026 for Evelyn and Don Radosevich, bringing them home to rest in the land they love the most. In lieu of flowers, the family encourages everyone to eat a hot fudge sundae in Evelyn's honor and or make a donation in her name to Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. Finally, we have Robert William Duncan, Bob, 86 of Springfield, Missouri, who passed away peacefully at 4:39 a.m. Saturday, January 24th, 2026 at Cox Medical Center South. Bob lived a long, adventurous life. He was a man of the earth, sky, sea, and wind. As a young boy growing up in Springfield, he enjoyed the outdoors fishing, hiking, and horseback riding along the White River, what is now the bottom of Table Rock Lake. Active in Boy Scouts, he would often tell the story of how his parents would fly their plane over the scout camp and drop a parachute with survival snacks and notes to the boys. He continued these joys and experiences throughout his life with a love of the outdoors, taking his family of 4 on many hiking and camping adventures in their blue Suburban to Colorado and beyond. Even up until recent years, he trekked on many multi-day backpacking trips with his beloved Springfield hiking group. Bob graduated from Parkview High School in Springfield in 1957, the opening year of the new school. He was the first student body president in the school's long history. He then went on to spend a year at the University of Colorado, again being tempted by the great outdoors and mountains. He had many great college stories as the dawn of space exploration began in 1957 while attending there, intensifying his imagination and desire to learn and study. However, the slopes of the Rockies continued to call, and he became a self-proclaimed ski bum, living at Ed's Beds and working in the attached restaurant to earn enough money to ski. With encouragement from his parents, or perhaps a tug on the ear from his mother, Nell, he returned to Springfield, where he enrolled at Drury University and excelled in his studies. While considering following in his father's pioneering footsteps in medicine, once again his adventurous spirit won out, and he pursued his passion for flight. Bob's passion for flying began early on with Scouts. When he was in grade school, he made scrapbooks full of pictures of World War II fighter planes. When he was 12, he joined the Civil Air Patrol Cadet Program. His passion for flying was cultivated by an intense curiosity and sense of adventure gifted to him from his parents, who loved to travel. Bob joined the Navy and was accepted and chosen to the flight program, where he finished at the top of every class. That allowed him to, quote, pick his plane, which of course was the newest and fastest of them at the time, the F-4 Phantom, capable of speeds in excess of twice the speed of sound. His proficiency at flying was noted, and he was chosen to go to Naval Air Station Miramar, otherwise known at the time as Fightertown, USA. This would later be known as Top Gun. Bob took his skills across the globe and into the early part of the Vietnam War during the Gulf of Tonkin conflict. He would often tell stories of landing his plane on what seemed like a tiny floating airstrip in the middle of the ocean at night during a storm, relying on instruments from the 50s and 60s to guide him to safety. During one mission, he landed a crippled fighter with a dangling missile on one wing's landing gear, a very tricky maneuver with a jet, slowing the aircraft down enough so that when the other two landing gears touched down, the missile wouldn't drag far enough to explode. As he gently set the plane down on the other wing's landing gear and finally on the front landing gear, as expected, the missile caught the ground, spinning the plane around, causing the front landing gear to collapse, and the plane came to a stop. All of this planned out. He flew over 100 missions from the USS Constellation, Ticonderoga, and Ranger aircraft carriers. While a member of Fighter Squadron 142, Attack Wing 14, known as the Ghost Riders, he flew many sorties and reconnaissance and combat, becoming a Navy hero and earning many decorations, among them the Navy Commendation Medal with V for Valor for actions involving personal hazard during active combat, and the Distinguished Flying Cross, America's oldest aviation medal, first given to Charles Lindbergh. Bob earned the DFC for heroism in aerial flight during his campaign. Upon finishing his active duty role, he continued in the Naval Reserves and eventually achieved full retirement with the rank of captain. Bob's passion for flight went even further, bringing his new family to Kansas City and continuing on as a pilot for Trans World Airlines for 35 years, retiring as captain in 2002 on his final flight to Puerto Rico. Bob loved his time as a commercial pilot, flying over the seas and through the Aurora Borealis. However, his favorite part of commercial flying were the passengers, whose lives were in his hands. While on flights, he also enjoyed his role as tour guide, announcing over the intercom numerous sights to your left and right, many of them with personal descriptions of people he knew near those places. He also enjoyed having fun taking wagers from people flying to Las Vegas on the exact minute and second they would touch down, the winner receiving a bottle of champagne. He knew how to ease the minds of nervous travelers, allowing them to sit back, relax, and enjoy their flight. Throughout his flying career, Bob dodged bullets and missiles and was even hijacked during his early years as a TWA pilot. However, despite what might seem like a tumultuous lifestyle, he is most known for his storytelling, his sense of humor, his encyclopedic breadth of knowledge and experiences, but also for his patience, peace, and gentle nature. Bob learned to sail early on, but while in the Navy, this became his second passion. Bob was at peace on the water. He sailed the 800 nautical mile open sea passage from the Bahamas to Bermuda without cell phones, without GPS, using traditional and celestial navigation. He said the stars were so bright that they would create shadows even though the moon was not shining. Single-handed, he piloted sailboats for his family from Seattle through the rough seas of Puget Sound and throughout the San Juan Islands, throughout the British Virgin Islands and Bahamas, throughout the Intercoastal Waterway in Alabama, and on many family outings on Lake Perry in his beloved boat that he restored by hand, a mahogany Thistle-class sailboat called the Indigo. Bob never slowed down, and his most beloved passion was his family. He enjoyed watching that adventurous spirit handed down to his children and grandchildren. They all loved their grandpa dearly, and his goofy faces, noises, jokes, and stories will all be sorely missed. And although the stories may not sound the same with the narrator now gone, they will certainly be remembered. All of Bob's passions relied on the wind, to create the sound amongst the aspens and pines of the mountains, to provide lift for him to fly, to fill his sails to glide across the water, to tell his jokes that often contained some hot air, to make his grand fanfare entrances with the mouth-finger trumpet, and to occasionally produce some wind when he had a grandchild pull his finger. The wind last entered Bob's lungs at 4:39 a.m. on January 24, 2026, earning him a new set of wings to carry him on his next adventure. Bob is preceded in death by his parents, Dr. Robert Dalrymple and Nell Duncan, and his nephew Brian Robert Duncan. He is survived by his former spouse, Carol Garlow Duncan, sons Robert Douglas Duncan, and his significant other, Christy Crozier, Dr. William Hayward and his wife, Tiffany Duncan, his grandchildren, Vivian and fiancé Sam, Evelyn, Dalton and wife Ashley, Will, Dorothy and Stuart, and a great-granddaughter, Madeline, his partner of many years, Sue Burwell Phillips, his brother, Dr. Douglas, and wife, Linda Duncan, and nephew, Craig Duncan, and wife, Trina Haffenden, and their children, Joseph and Beth. He also leaves behind numerous friends. In lieu of flowers, please make a donation to Honor Flight of the Ozarks.
Now, from KY3 News, or ky3.com. Springfield's Dickerson Park Zoo staff mourns the death of lioness. Shatani, a 19-year-old lioness at Dickerson Park Zoo, was humanely euthanized on February 3rd. Shatani had been under the supervision of the zoo's veterinarian team for chronic kidney disease. As her quality of life continued to decline due to her failing kidneys and increased cognitive dysfunction, the animal care team made the difficult decision to humanely euthanize her. We had been managing Shatani's kidney disease for the past year and monitoring her very closely for the past few months for signs of cognitive dysfunction, said Dickerson Park Zoo Associate Veterinarian Dr. Shelby Nestor. Shatani was always so playful and eager to train, which made providing her medical care much easier. Her love of meat and all the attention she could get made it so rewarding to work with her. She was a big personality and will be greatly missed. As Shatani's cognitive health declined, her care team noticed rapid changes to her personality and overall health. Shatani was born on November 3, 2006, at the Pueblo Zoo in Pueblo, Colorado. In March 2008, Shatani arrived at Dickerson Park Zoo and was introduced to a male lion named Ade. Ade was humanely euthanized in January 2025 due to age-related issues, including kidney failure. Shatani was always so interested in her keepers and any human interaction she could get, said Tracy Campbell, head zookeeper over Africa and Australia/South America. She loved to do encounters and interact with the public and her caregivers. It made our jobs easy, and we fell in love with her. Both Shatani and Ade lived long lives and served as beautiful ambassadors for their species.
And Greene County Sheriff's Office will film with On Patrol Live. Marta Meets in the Springfield News-Leader says that the Greene County Sheriff's Office deputies are coming back to television and will be featured on Patrol Live. Greene County Commission approved a year-long contract with On Patrol Live that will document the work of GCSO deputies on live television. According to the show's website, the show is filmed in real time and airs live with a slight time delay that can range from a few minutes to up to a half an hour. Law enforcement departments featured on the show are not compensated directly, but do receive a licensing fee for the use of their name and logo on the show. On Patrol Live is a reality TV series that airs Friday and Saturday nights on cable and satellite channel reels. According to the show's website, law enforcement departments featured on the show do not have any editorial control over the content, though they do have the right to review and request editing of footage that could endanger citizens. Following is a photo of at least 50 to 60 deputies as Greene County Sheriff Jim Arnott administers the oath of office to them back on the 31st of December last year. GCSO is no stranger to being in front of the camera. The office previously participated in Cops TV show, which airs footage long after it was recorded, and was heavily featured in the A&E reality show Live PD from 2017 to 2019. While Live PD was canceled in 2020, On Patrol Live was seen as a revival of one of A&E's highest-rated shows. However, A&E filed a copyright infringement lawsuit against Reels, alleging the new show uses a nearly identical format and hosts, resulting in a settlement outside of court, according to reporting by Reuters. Prior to the commissioner's unanimous approval of the contract, Greene County Sheriff's Captain Jason Johnson said the show was already filming in adjacent Christian County. He said beyond providing transparency and public education about what deputies face in the field, the show will be an opportunity to provide exposure for the GCSO recruitment purposes. Johnson shared that the Sheriff's Office currently has 9 vacancies in the Patrol Division and 27 vacancies in detention operations. Last year, only 3 qualified external candidates applied for patrol vacancies, he said. Presiding Commissioner Bob Dixon emphasized the need for creative recruitment strategies, like the live TV exposure, as the county struggles to fill positions across different departments and is unable to keep up with competitive salaries. In its 2026 budget, the county did a 3% cost of living adjustment for all employee pay. Dixon said that was still not adequate to make Greene County departments competitive with similar organizations. While the contract spans a year, Johnson said the county can decide to cancel it at any time with 30 days' notice.
Another article from KY3. In O'Fallon, Missouri, we've got the headline that reads, "State lawmakers considering golf cart regulations would require seat belts." Whether you're in the city or St. Charles County, you likely have seen golf carts zooming around neighborhoods as they grow more popular. Some cities have clamped down and added safety regulations, including St. Louis. But now all of Missouri could see restrictions, as House members are set to vote Tuesday to advance a bill. But one O'Fallon woman worries her disabled son could face unintended consequences. He would lose that independence and it would narrow the scope of his world, said Denise Gould. Gould's son David has multiple disabilities, but while many in his condition live in a group home, he has his own apartment, a job at a hotel, and comes and goes in the Wing Haven area on a golf cart. And he accesses his community, the restaurants that he goes to, and spends money, said Gould. But Gould worries a proposal that would regulate golf carts in Missouri would hamper her son's ability to come and go. It would be a sad day for David, said Gould. House Bill 1939 would require a series of safety features, including headlights, taillights, brake lights, and a blinker, among others. The bill would also limit golf cart use to roads with speed limits of 25 miles per hour. "I almost ran over a number of children driving down the middle of the road wildly with a golf cart," said State Representative Jim Murphy. Murphy, of South St. Louis County, said he was motivated to file the bill after seeing what he described as inappropriate behavior. It's legislation that experts at Jacked Carts say is a good idea. 1,200 pounds, so it can obviously do some damage, said Griffith. Operations Manager David Griffith said the safety features required in the bill already come standard on the brands they sell, and additional features can be added if needed. "Anything in that bill we can pretty easily install in that golf cart," said Griffith. Murphy expects his bill to get out of committee Tuesday, with changes including requiring insurance to drive a cart, as well as giving municipalities more flexibility to allow carts on faster roads. That gives some hope to Gould that David could still drive his cart around his neighborhood. He has friends all over the area that he can't walk to get to see, so it would really limit the scope of his community and his ability to be a part of that, said Gould. In St. Louis, golf carts can travel on 30-mile-per-hour roads only when crossing the street. City law does not require a seatbelt, meaning some drivers may have to install one.
And in other political news, a Missouri video lottery bill gives 2 years to remove gray market machines. Rudy Keller with the Springfield News-Leader says that companies profiting from unregulated convenience store slot machines would have 2 years to pull their games off the market under a bill advanced Monday in a Missouri House committee. The bill, the latest in a years-long effort by law enforcement and legislators to rein in the games, would create a state-run video lottery system to replace the current games. The 2-year changeover is double the time allowed in the bill, as it was introduced by Representative Bill Hardwick, a Republican from Dixon. The original bill, Hardwick said, may have been too aggressive in terms of getting purchase contracts and to propagate rules, so it seems like for now we're going to try a 2-year transition period. Following is a photo of State Representative Bill Hardwick as he makes a speech. Hardwick said he's confident the bill will find support in the Missouri House. The committee's 8-5 vote, however, with 3 Republicans joining 2 Democrats in opposition, shows support is shaky. A similar bill passed the House last year with just 1 vote more than the 82 needed. It died in the Senate. Under Hardwick's revised bill, the Missouri Lottery would have authority to license video games for installation in retail locations across the state. The licensed machines would have to pay out at least 80% of the money wagered as prizes, and about 1/3 of the profits would be dedicated to state education programs. The bill would also impose a 3% tax on video lottery profits to aid local governments and would increase the fee casinos pay for each patron who enters the gaming floor from $2 to $4. At a public hearing on January 27th, Hardwick and other supporters said the new games would generate up to $600 million annually for education. The increased casino boarding fee and other licensing fees would generate up to $55 million for state veterans programs. If those estimates are correct, video lottery would be the most lucrative games yet for vendors and the state treasury. The most recent expansion of gambling in Missouri, sports wagering, was approved by voters in November 2024. In December, the first month of operation, gamblers wagered $543 million, won $437.7 million back, and the state tax on profits generated $521,000. For the entire fiscal year that ended June 30th, gambling generated about $700 million for education programs, with $364 million from casino taxes and $337 million from the lottery. The games currently available in convenience stores and other retail locations are called no-chance games because they have a function that allows a gambler to know the outcome of the next play before making a bet. The games have thrived in large part due to the lobbying efforts of Torch Electronics, the largest vendor in the market. Torch lobbies lawmakers against video lottery and prosecutors against charging retailers with gambling crimes. The company has also sued to block law enforcement efforts by state and local agencies. The changes made Monday to Hardwick's bill, while allowing a 2-year transition, would explicitly ban Torch from converting its machines to legal video lottery terminals. The bill would also give local governments 120 days after the law takes effect to pass an ordinance against video lottery. One provision removed would have created a new enforcement agency, the Missouri Gaming Bureau, to investigate illegal gambling. The job will remain with the Missouri State Highway Patrol, Hardwick said. Every change, he said, is designed to win more support for the bill. The bill we're developing, he said, is a bill that the House thinks is fair.
And from goodnewsnetwork.org, the headline on this one says, Teens build igloo that brings together the neighborhood after a difficult ice storm. And we see a picture of 2 teenage girls together in a homemade igloo. While millions of Americans hunkered down in their homes after ice storms encrusted the mid-Atlantic, 2 young teens got busy building community spirit by building an igloo. They constructed their igloo in front of a house that was destroyed by a house fire a few months ago. Adeline Sudik and her friend Maeve Rishit carved dozens of ice bricks with a flat shovel and used a sled to move them to the symbolic spot on Helena Drive. We built an igloo to create unity in the community and bring people together, Adeline told GNN by phone. It brought joy to all the neighbors when the snow was frustrating and very difficult to cope with. I feel like this igloo is a good representation of hope and how things can be rebuilt. And here we've got another picture of the 2 teenage girls. They've each got a cup of hot cocoa in their hands, and they're smiling and saying cheers in their igloo. Her whole family got involved when the sun began to set Thursday in the Sligo Woods neighborhood in Silver Spring, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. Oh, and there's a picture of them putting lights in the igloo. That's really cool. It shows it lighted up at night. Her dad, Stefan, outfitted the group with headlamps to work in the dark, and her mom shot videos and photos until the roof was finally laid. They built chairs and a table out of ice so people could hang out inside the snow cave. We even made a guest book for people to write in, and their messages were so heartwarming, said Adeline. I did this as a kid too, one guest named Melinda wrote. My 3 kids love it, Jen wrote. Adeline said it was so nice to see people smiling at the girls when they passed by. Many neighbors have come up and talked with us about the igloo and how much they've enjoyed it. We've had more visitors sign the book today, she added on Friday. One of the neighbors enjoyed watching the construction from her window as the girls spent hours building the cozy community hub, but she finally ventured out on Friday under blue skies to leave a message. It brought back so many childhood memories. And then we've got another article from Only Good News Daily. This one is about Bob Ross, the joy of painting. 3 paintings by the late Bob Ross have just fetched $1.27 million at auction, with proceeds from the sales going to help public television following funding cuts under the Trump administration. In November last year, 3 other of his paintings went under the hammer, raising $662,000 for public broadcasting. It's only fitting, as Bob Ross dedicated his life to making art accessible to everyone through public television, said Joan Kowalski, president of Bob Ross Incorporated. The Joy of Painting was a PBS staple from 1983 to 1994, elevating the popularity of Ross, whose distinctive curly hair, unique painting style, and relaxing tone made him a cultural icon. We are broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store in Springfield, Missouri. Located at 2713 North Kansas Expressway. Find amazing deals Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Help the blind, help the community.
And from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Brian Fogel says the Lost and Found helps us learn to express big grief feelings. It was 1999, and a mutual friend suggested that I have lunch with Sean Askinosie. I had met him several times, and our daughters had even played together through another mutual connection, and so we sat outside at a restaurant that no longer exists and talked. I primarily knew Sean through his work as a very high-profile defense attorney, but as he spoke, I knew he had something else on his mind and heart. He shared his story about losing his father when he was barely a teenager, and the impact that had on him as he tried to reconcile such a tragic loss at that impressionable age. School and parents provide so much education and guidance in our wonder years, but very few teach us about death and grief. I also remember talking with him about the Bob Buford book I had just read called Halftime, which suggests that at a certain point in our lives, after building families and careers, we wonder while climbing that ladder of success, is it even on the right wall? Buford's observation of his own life and career in his 40s was the need to move from success to significance. Sean embraced that notion and started both a bean-to-bar chocolate factory and also launched Lost and Found Grief Center in 2000 with the help of Dr. Karen Scott. They celebrated their 25th year just last year and have had a deep impact on individuals and families who, like Sean, were impacted by the loss of a loved one. Lost and Found provided help, hope, and healing to 741 individuals in 2025 through nearly 600 hours of no-cost therapeutic grief group time. In addition, there were 543 individual grief counseling sections, and 220 community members received grief education and training assistance. The impact of their work is profound on those obtaining their help. After receiving professional therapeutic grief support at their center, 81% of kids knew how to express, quote, big grief feelings. 86% of teenagers reported they found a way to carry their grief and move forward in life. And 94% of parents expressed they were now better equipped to navigate their grief. The cost of inaction is substantial. 1 in 4 youth and 18 and under who die by suicide are bereaved, according to Judy's House Childhood Bereavement Estimation Model. The same source cited bereaved youth are 175% more likely to develop substance use disorders in adulthood. Even the economic impact is significant. Forbes magazine stated that 1 in 9 employees are impacted by death and estimates grief-related costs companies approximately $75 billion each year. The important work done by Lost and Found is carried out by CEO Mark Miller and a staff of 12 others and numerous volunteers. Mark himself experienced tragic loss and knows that all that goes with dealing with grief in a family. The community has recognized the value and has been supportive of their work over the past quarter century. Like so many nonprofits, they rely on the generosity of others. According to their 990 financial report listed on their website, nearly 50% of their budget came from donations and contributions, and another 34% was from fundraising events. Only 16% came from government grants. Their financial stewardship has allowed them to offer their services to individuals and families, regardless of the financial situation. Financial barriers are not and should not be an issue for those dealing with grief and loss. We have all experienced loss. Winnie the Pooh said, "How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." For most of us, losing a loved one is one of the hardest things we face in life. Adding to that is the fact that most of us never received the training or experience on how to face grief in an appropriate way. Talk of death is something we avoid. I heard an estate planning attorney say one time that it was even hard to have those discussions with clients who sought his legal advice to prepare for the reality, so he would refer to it as when your will expires. Fortunately, Lost and Found Grief Center has been there to help an estimated 25,000 neighbors in our region since its founding in 2000. Our community is so fortunate that Sean found his significance after a successful law career, and Karen was there to help the journey with her counseling background. Should you or someone you know be struggling with grief and loss, or if you want to support their work, more information can be found at www.lostandfoundozarks.com.
All right, from onlygoodnewsdaily.com. Rare copy of Declaration of Independence heading to auction. The document is part of a collection of over 400 historic items scheduled for auction in May and is set to coincide with the 250th anniversary of American independence. However, this is not an instantly recognizable version of the Declaration of Independence, as instead of being a carefully handwritten piece of parchment, what's known as an engrossed copy, this variant is one of the few surviving broadside editions, a large, single-sided page of printed material that was one of the easiest and most popular ways to spread public information at the time. Declaration of Independence broadsides were distributed throughout the colonies shortly after the original document was signed, with the goal of raising awareness and to win people over to the idea of breaking away from Britain. The auctioneers believe that this particular copy was published in Exeter, New Hampshire. The edition offered by Golden Auction was originally printed and distributed so that colonists could read the Second Continental Congress's argument for separating from Great Britain in July 1776. Around 125 of the July 1776 broadsides are still known to exist today, but only 10 examples remain of this specific edition. Golden has not yet provided a valuation estimate, but it will almost certainly sell for a substantial sum. Recently, an Exeter broadside in similar condition offered by Christie's sold for nearly $5.7 million.
And earlier we talked about a few of today's holidays. A few more today include National Quacker Day, National Signing Day, Rosa Parks Day, National Thank a Mailman Day, and National Girls and Women in Sports Day. And speaking of girls and women's in sports, Drury's Halliday shows tenacity and talent while recovering from injury. Mike Bennett with the Drury Athletics Communications Department in the Springfield News-Leader says, "Day by day, Drury guard Reagan Halliday pushes the pain away and regains confidence in her skills after 3 years of knee surgeries and rehabilitation, as well as 2 week-long hospitalizations while battling a painful autoimmune disease. Playing is the pain reliever," said the redshirt sophomore. "Some games I hurt a lot, some I don't notice it as adrenaline takes over." Following is a photo of the guard as she faces off against an opponent. Halliday brings the maturity and leadership of a senior, yet essentially as a 21-year-old freshman, said Drury head coach Casey Bailey. Halliday also brings strong ball handling and defensive skills, plus superb long-range shooting, and has shown a propensity to step up in close games. "I'm willing to run and play hard," Halliday said. "I love playing in transition, a fast-paced game." Averaging 5.1 points and 2.9 rebounds in 17.2 minutes per game, Halliday leads Drury by converting 12 of 24 of her three-point attempts. Bailey calls her a, quote, money player. That certainly was the case in the home opener as Drury faced a 0-3 start. Halliday totaled 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in the double overtime win over Texas A&M International. She played 39 minutes, the most by far this season. "She was huge for us," said Bailey, whose team has since risen to 14-6 and 11-2 in the Great Lakes Valley Conference. Halliday stepped up again January 17th with 12 points and 3 assists during an 83-80 victory at McKendree. And again, she had 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and 5 points in just 11 minutes of action during a 77-75 win at Upper Iowa on January 31st. Her desire and energy amazed teammates. "She is going to go for the ball, do the extra work," said senior guard Reed Gibbons. "Sometimes Halliday just has to sit out as she works toward a total return." "We're in this for the long haul," Bailey said. "We need her. She is going to be an X factor for us." At first, Halliday was worried her teammates wouldn't respect her if she didn't take part in every workout and practice. They have convinced her otherwise. "They know what she's made of," Bailey said. "Everyone sees her abilities." "Halliday has earned respect," Gibbons said. "She's a team player all around. We all love her." Junior post player Sarah Mendel agreed. "She is such an inspiration. She has so much talent and determination." It's been 3.5 years since Halliday headed to New Mexico State University with big dreams after 4 seasons of all-state basketball at Olathe South in Kansas. Those dreams were derailed when she tore the ACL in her left leg during summer workouts. She tore it again 6 months later while rehabbing and had a follow-up knee procedure 2 years ago. She wants to work her way back to being an impact player at every game, to be a model of hard work and overcoming adversity. "I just want to do what's best for the team," Halliday said. "If my story can inspire someone, it was worth it."
All right, from OzarksFirst.com. The headline reads, "Illegal drug investigations lead to arrests in Camden County." In Camdenton, Missouri, the Camden County Sheriff's Office announced the arrest of 3 people on illegal drug charges made throughout January as a result of investigations by the Mid-Missouri Drug Task Force. On January 5th, CCSO says they responded to reported drug activity in Montreal near Jeffreys Road. During the investigation, deputies and the Mid-Missouri Drug Task Force, which we'll call MIDMO, task force officers found a psilocybin mushroom cultivation operation and several controlled prescription drugs, some of which were counterfeit. Authorities seized 1 pound of the mushrooms and 184 pills in total. As a result, Lucy Stevens, 51, from Montreal, was arrested and charged with 1 count of manufacturing a controlled substance and 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance. She is being held without bond. On January 14th, CCSO says during a traffic stop on Beechwood Drive in Sunrise Beach, a deputy located methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia in the vehicle of 52-year-old Paul Brotherton. The investigation then led to a Sunrise Beach storage unit, where deputies and MIDMO task force officers executed a narcotics search warrant. Authorities discovered and seized 24.5 grams of methamphetamine that were packaged to be sold to the local community, according to CCSO. Brotherton was arrested and taken to the Camden County Detention Facility, where he was charged with delivery of a controlled substance and possession of a controlled substance. He has since posted a $5,000 bond. The third arrest came on January 20th, when MIDMO gathered information about a suspected drug trafficker returning to Camden County after delivering narcotics in Columbia, Missouri. MIDMO and several other area law enforcement agencies located the suspect, 43-year-old Ricky Brown Jr., from Osage Beach in Cole County. Investigators from the Mustang Drug Task Force and Cole County deputies intercepted Brown and took him into custody, while also seizing 1/3 of a pound of methamphetamine. Brown was transported to the Cole County Detention Center and is charged with second-degree drug trafficking. He is being held without bond. These cases are examples of how our deputies, working hand in hand with our citizens and partner agencies, continue to make a real difference in our community, said Camden County Sheriff Chris Edgar in a press release. Drug trafficking will not be tolerated in Camden County, and we remain committed to holding those responsible accountable.
A Purple Heart honor arrives 14 years after a soldier survived an IED attack. Janice Reeser with the Springfield News-Leader explains that Staff Sergeant Paul Schmitz received a Purple Heart on January 15th, nearly 14 years after he was wounded in Afghanistan, according to a community announcement. Schmick was injured in an improvised explosive device attack in 2012. The ceremony took place at Fort Leonard Wood. Incredibly emotional, Schmick said in the announcement. Standing there and seeing my family, friends, and battle buddies in the crowd filled me with a deep sense of gratitude. I've never felt more aware of how fortunate I am to have their support. Following is a photo of Schmick as he received the Purple Heart from Colonel William Arnold, the U.S. Army Chief of Transportation. In 2012, Schmick was assigned to the 710th Brigade Support Battalion in Sarkari Kharaz, Afghanistan. He assisted in moving fuel, ammunition, and other cargo to service members throughout the country. On February 28, 2012, Schmick and his team were conducting sustainment operations between multiple forward operating bases and combat outposts across the Maywan district. His mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicle was hit by an IED. The blast injured Schmick and his gunner and damaged the vehicle, making it non-operational. Despite his wounds, Schmick displayed remarkable composure while rendering medical aid, not only to his gunner but to himself, and then maintained situational awareness to ensure the safety of his unit, Colonel William Arnold, U.S. Army Chief of Transportation, said in the announcement. Once combat medics arrived, Schmick passed off care of the gunner and continued to secure the scene until the explosive ordnance disposal team arrived to clear the area. Schmick said he didn't fully grasp the importance of his 80am motor transport operator training until the attack. There was no time to think. My body moved on pure muscle memory, built from every repetition, every drill, every long day of preparation. That training is what allowed me to act when it mattered most, Schmick said in the announcement. Schmick now serves as a motor transport operator course instructor with the 58th Transportation Battalion at Fort Leonard Wood, where he teaches soldiers how to operate tactical wheeled vehicles. He said that he shares his combat experience with soldiers training to be motor transport operators because preparation today is what saves lives tomorrow. I feel a deep responsibility to pass on the lessons I learned on the battlefield, Schmick said in the announcement. Being an 88M is one of the most dangerous jobs in the military, and I want them to understand the reality of that, not to scare them, but to strengthen them. Schmick said that the training and mentoring the next generation has been one of the most rewarding experiences of his career. It's a privilege I don't take lightly, and I'm thankful every day for the opportunity to give back to the soldiers who will carry the mission forward, he said in the announcement.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Come by and see us in person with daily deals at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. Veterans receive a 25% discount every day, providing significant savings as a token of appreciation for their service. Additionally, the store features a weekly clothing sale where all clothing items are available at 50% off every Wednesday. Seniors aged 55 and older benefit from a 25% discount every Tuesday, making shopping more affordable for the senior community. And here we have an article from OzarksFirst.com. The headline reads, Springfield Police reportedly investigating after residents say they heard gunshots. Springfield, Missouri. Police are reportedly investigating a report of possible shots fired early Wednesday morning near the Oak Grove section of Springfield. The call reportedly came in around 4:16 a.m. along the 2100 block of East Cinderella Street. Alleged witnesses say they heard what sounded like 4 gunshots in the area at the time of the alleged shooting. They tell Ozarks First someone also allegedly broke into their car around the same time. Others say they saw 2 men with one of them armed. An open box of keys was also reportedly found near the crime scene. It remains unclear if this is related to the reported shooting. As of Wednesday morning, police had not confirmed additional details, including whether anyone was injured or if any arrests have been made.
The Drew Lewis Foundation launches a hope movement in Springfield. Dave DeMille at the Springfield News-Leader says that the Springfield's Drew Lewis Foundation is launching a hope movement designed to inspire small, everyday actions that help neighbors lift one another up, according to a community announcement. The initiative encourages individuals, families, businesses, and community partners to participate as hope givers, contributing moments of encouragement that build stronger neighborhoods. The campaign also ties together the Foundation's core programs, the RISE program, Blue House Project, and Fairbanks Community Hub, under a shared message that hope is not just a feeling but a practice, according to the announcement, which the Foundation issued January 29th. Following is a photo of 3 children riding bikes with a gentleman standing in the background. It's part of the New Hope movement as it invites neighbors to become hope givers through simple, meaningful acts. Founded in the Grant Beach neighborhood, the Drew Lewis Foundation has grown into a central community resource supporting education, housing stability, economic opportunity, and social connection, according to the announcement. At the Drew Lewis Foundation, we believe hope grows when people come together, said Zion Riff Stevens, Outreach and Fundraising Coordinator. Whether that's sharing a meal, volunteering time, offering encouragement, or investing in a neighbor's future, each act matters. The Foundation plans to highlight community stories, host events at the Fairbanks Community Hub, and invite residents to nominate a Hope Giver of the Month at info@drewlewis.org. When we carry hope, we can imagine more, do more, and become more, said Megan Story, Director of RISE Fairbanks. Together, we invite you to join the Hope movement and build the future we know is possible. More information is available at drewlewisfoundation.org.
And this article is from thegoodnewsnetwork.org. We see a headline that says, Astonishing 1,400-year-old tomb featuring giant owl sculpture discovered in Mexico. And there's a picture of a rock wall that most definitely has the form of an owl embedded in it. It's being called the most significant archaeological discovery in a decade, a tomb dating back 1,400 years, decorated with murals and carvings of exquisite preservation. Belonging to one of Mexico's non-Mayan native cultures, the Zapotecs, its most striking feature is a frieze of an enormous owl head with a man's face trapped in its beak. The Zapotecs are a pre-Columbian people who inhabited areas making up the modern Mexican state of Oaxaca as far back as the 6th century BCE, around the time this tomb dates to. The earliest Spanish chronicles speak of the Zapotecs existing in a state of war with the Aztecs, and today their descendants make up a recognized racial group in the modern Mexican state, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, speaking a language of the same name. Located in San Pablo Huitzu, the tomb is decorated with murals in green, white, blue, and red pigments that show scenes associated with funerary traditions, a statement from Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History explains. It's the most significant archaeological discovery of the last decade in Mexico due to the level of preservation and the information it provides, said President Claudia Sheinbaum in a press briefing in the days following the discovery's announcement. The standout detail by far is the owl sculpture. In Zapotec myth, owls were symbols of both the night and death, and the beak of the bird contains a stone head, perhaps representing the one belonging to a man buried in the tomb. At the threshold to the burial chamber, there are carvings of 2 human figures holding various artifacts in their hands, who may have been the guardians of the tomb, according to the INA. GNN recently reported on a LiDAR study that identified a collection of structures on the hills near the modern town of Santo Domingo. Tejonotepec was actually a Zapotec fortress complete with ball courts. Pedro Guillermo Ramon Solis, organizer of a LiDAR survey, plans to return to conduct more research there, telling the press team at McGill University that as a point of reference and pride for the Zapotec people, the fortress could provide key insights to their ancestors' ways of living, as well as an example of a civilization that resisted the Aztecs' conquering push southward. Regarding the owl-fronted tomb, Mexico's Culture Secretary Claudia Curiel de Azaca said something similar, noting how the Zapotecs live today will be eager the Zapotecs alive today will be eager to hear what the tomb and its murals and carvings will tell of their ancestors' social organization, funereal rituals, and belief system. For now, critical conservation work will be undertaken first, as the tomb and its artworks are at risk of insects, tree roots, and deleterious effects from exposure to the local climate.
And a Missouri professors win Grammy while Chapel Roan turns heads. Coming to us from Ahmad Jawadi and Saman Shafiq and the Springfield News-Leader. No other outfit at this year's Grammy Awards made heads turn quite like the dress worn by Willard, Missouri's own Chapel Roan. The award-winning singer brought her signature vibrant glam with a bold twist to the Grammy Awards red carpet at the Crypto.com Arena in downtown Los Angeles on Sunday, February 1st, wearing a sheer burgundy Mugler outfit accented with nipple rings, with her front and back bare and a back tattoo on full display. Roan complimented her look with black and gold heels, minimal jewelry, and her red mane done in curls and braids. For the red carpet interviews, Roan covered up by draping a matching maroon cape over her look. Makeup artist Andrew Dalling, who did Roan's makeup, described her look as a Mugler medieval fantasy, sharing that they wanted the look to be sultry and smoky, with a little 90s influence to honor the area this archival gown comes from. According to People, Roan's look was inspired by Manfred Thierry Mugler's Spring-Summer 1998 Jeu de Paume Couture collection, revisited for Spring and Summer 2026 by Miguel Castro Frietes. Roan's makeup featured a taupey smoky eye with a touch of shimmering liner paired with what I'm calling a nude red lip, according to Dalling. Ahead of the ceremony, Roan told E's red carpet host Zuri Hall that walking the carpet was the hardest part of the whole night for her, adding she likes breaking the mold. Roan was in the running for Best Pop Solo Performance and Record of the Year, but lost out to Kendrick Lamar and Lola Young, respectively. Her standalone single, The Subway, ranked number 2 on USA Today's Top 10 Songs of 2025 list. Roan might have been the most famous Missourian at this year's Grammys, but she wasn't the only one nominated. The group Alarm Will Sound, which features Mizzou School of Music faculty members Stefan Freund and Bill Kalinkos, earned Grammy nods in 2 categories, including Best Contemporary Classical Composition and Best Chamber Music Small Ensemble Performance. The 22-member band ultimately took home the top prize in the latter category for its album Donacha Denahe, Land of Winter. The ensemble said in a Facebook post it was absolutely thrilled and deeply honored for the win, adding, to be recognized along so many artists and ensembles whose work we admire and who are lucky to call friends is something we don't take lightly. Immense gratitude to everyone who poured imagination, care, and belief into bringing this music into the world. What a joy to celebrate it together.
And from the Good News Network, goodnewsnetwork.org. Homeless woman sleeping on late husband's grave visited by an angel with a tiny home. And we see a picture of a middle-aged couple, assumably husband and wife. And it reads here, when a Syracuse police officer got the call that there was someone living among the dead at Oakwood Cemetery, you'd forgive them perhaps for being a little on edge. But what they found wasn't anything out of a horror film. Instead, it was 55-year-old widow Rhea Holmes sleeping under a winter sky on the cold ground of her husband's grave. Holmes enjoyed 26 years of wedded bliss with her husband, Eddie. Together, by 2024, they had collected enough money to buy a small home in Syracuse. It wasn't much, but it was their dream. Offer accepted, they must have been preparing to sign on the dotted line when Eddie suffered a fatal heart attack the very same day. In shock, Holmes took the down payment and spent it on a grave plot, headstone, and bench incised with his name where she could come and reminisce. However, without her beloved Eddie by her side, she slipped into a depression, lost her job, and got evicted. Rudderless, directionless, and alone, Holmes decided to go to the only place in the world where she felt she belonged, the slab of marble where Eddie Holmes lay in eternal rest. Too proud to sleep at a shelter, she would volunteer at a food kitchen where she too could eat and then, with night as her cloak, would slip into the cemetery to sleep under the stars, which she did from May of 2025 to this month. I assumed that I was going to die there, Holmes said of the cemetery, but then along comes an angel. Syracuse police officer Jamie Pastorello was informed of Holmes' presence by a retired colleague and went to investigate. First, he paid for a hotel room for Holmes, wrote CBS News' Steve Hartman in his On the Road segment. Then he connected her with the president of Lemoyne College, who let Holmes stay on campus while the students were on winter break. Lastly, he connected her with a nonprofit called A Tiny Home for Good, which got Holmes her own tiny home at an affordable price. It was just the right thing to do, Pastorello told Hartman, and I wasn't going to let Rhea sleep outside again. A complete turnaround, in 20 days she went from sleeping on the cold, hard ground in a cemetery to her own home. He visits her from time to time, and all at once the warm, confident character that's easy to see how Eddie Holmes could have fallen for emergence. And one gets the feeling, writes Hartman, she won't go back to sleeping in a graveyard for a fair few years still.
And Steve Pokin with the Springfield Daily Citizen says that an El Salvador murder suspect might actually be one of the worst of the worst. The listing for defendant Christopher Giovanni Salazar Montes on the online roster of Greene County Jail inmates is different from the hundreds of other ICE detainees I've seen over the past few months. It says more than hold for ICE. In this case, unlike the others, there is a charge listed, murder. Salazar Montes was arrested January 28th. He is accused of shooting to death Marvin Rodriguez Sanchez, 26, of Mexico. The incident occurred in the 1900 block of North Burton Avenue just before midnight on January 27th. Salazar Montes is from El Salvador, and according to court records, ICE does not believe he has proper documentation to be in the United States legally. Salazar Montes just might be, despite his young age, one of the worst we hear about all the time. He's a far cry from Ming-Li Wee of Kennett, who for weeks was detained by ICE here in the Greene County Jail in 2025 until her hometown of 10,000 people rose up to support the hardworking 20-year resident and mother of 3. They know her as Carol Mayorga. When Mayorga was hauled off and detained for weeks, there was no charge listed by her name. No way for me or you or just about anyone else to determine if she was the worst of the worst. She wasn't, not by a long shot. In fact, her community knew her as one of their best. ICE released her. There's a photo of Ming-Li Wee, a.k.a. Carol Mayorga, prior to being detained by ICE. With Salazar Montes, we're talking about a charge of murder in the first degree. The original charge was murder in the second degree. I think we all agree this is the type of crime that, if the defendant is guilty, we want a conviction and a deportation if they aren't sentenced to life without parole or the death penalty, which would be the 2 possible punishments for first-degree murder. Salazar Montes allegedly shot Sanchez twice, once in the abdomen and once in the back. According to court documents, Salazar Montes told investigators he shot Sanchez because Sanchez, quote, was making statements about El Salvador being inferior to Mexico, explaining he, Salazar Montes, was from El Salvador and the victim from Mexico. It eventually escalated to the victim requesting to fight Salazar Montes outside. The victim went outside along with Salazar Montes. Salazar Montes felt the victim would beat him, and before any physical confrontation ensued, Salazar Montes displayed his handgun, pointing it down at his side. According to court documents, Salazar Montes fired a shot into the ground. He then fired a shot striking the victim in the abdomen. The other people who were present fled to their vehicles and left. The victim was still standing, clutching his abdomen, before trying to walk toward the residence. As the victim had his back to Salazar Montes fired another shot, striking the victim in his back. In addition, according to court documents, Salazar Montes allegedly left a voice message on someone's phone saying he had shot Sanchez because he was upset Sanchez had smoked in his residence. State charges come first, regardless of immigration status. But how does this work? You can't convict someone if they're deported. What's the procedure? I called Dan Patterson, the Greene County prosecuting attorney. Here's generally what happens when someone facing state criminal charges also has an ICE hold, according to Patterson. State charges come first. Missouri has jurisdiction over crimes committed in Missouri. When someone is charged with a serious offense like murder, they may be prosecuted here in Greene County regardless of their immigration status or country of origin. The ICE hold is a request, not a transfer order. An ICE detainer asked the jail to notify federal immigration authorities before releasing someone. The ICE hold doesn't affect the criminal case itself. The defendant goes through the same process as anyone else: arraignment, preliminary hearing, trial, and sentencing if convicted. If convicted, they serve their sentence here. A person convicted of a serious felony in Missouri serves their time in the Missouri Department of Corrections. The conviction and sentence aren't affected by immigration status. Deportation happens after the sentence is served. Once someone completes their prison sentence, ICE can take them into federal custody for removal proceedings. For someone convicted of a serious felony like murder, deportation after release would be essentially automatic. There's no discretionary relief available for offenses like that. So to directly answer your questions, yes, the defendant stands trial here in Greene County. Yes, if convicted, he serves his time in Missouri. And yes, after completing his sentence, he would be transferred to ICE custody and deported, Patterson said. In Florida, lawmakers last year made the death penalty mandatory for immigrants in the country illegally who are convicted of capital crimes, like murder. Missouri does not have a law like that. In November 2023, I wrote about defendant Yarl Daniel Leiva Navarro, a then 23-year-old man born in Honduras and living in the United States without proper documentation. Leiva Navarro had pleaded guilty to the Class B felony of driving while intoxicated, causing the death of another, not a passenger. Following is a photo of Leiva Navarro taken by the Greene County Jail. He killed Colby Compton, 32, of Springfield on December 11, 2021. Compton was driving north on Glenstone at about 9:30 p.m. and started turning left on a yellow turn signal onto Portland Street. Leiva Navarro was going 100 miles per hour south on Glenstone and was weaving in and out of traffic, racing another vehicle. He never saw it coming, said Zachary McFarland, an assistant Greene County prosecuting attorney of Compton. Leiva Navarro was sentenced to 10 years in prison. I checked with the Missouri Department of Corrections on Monday, February 2nd, and he was incarcerated at the Missouri Department of Corrections prison in Pacific.
All right, for you animal lovers, this is from KY3 by way of the Associated Press. Penny the Doberman Pinscher wins Best in Show at 150th Westminster Dog Show. The dog was Penny. The win was priceless. A Doberman Pinscher named Penny won Best in Show Tuesday night at the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, netting U.S. show dogs' most coveted prize and giving veteran handler Andy Linton another win after nearly 4 decades. Linton got Best in Show in 1989 with another Doberman named Indy. Penny is a great Doberman as I have ever seen, Linton told a supportive crowd. Despite health problems, he guided the 4-year-old dog through an impeccably crisp performance. And here we have a picture of Penny the Doberman posing, literally posing. She's beautiful with her silver cups and her huge ribbon at her feet. I had some goals, and this was one of them, Linton said, adding later in a conversation with reporters that as he's winding down his career, winning at the milestone 150th Annual Westminster Show is extra special. Runner-up, and cheers just as loud, went to a Chesapeake Bay retriever named Coda. While Dobermans have won 5 times, including Tuesday, no retriever has ever won, and their fans applaud every encouraging sign. Coda also seemed to enjoy the moment, particularly when his handler, Devin Kip Levy, let him play with the ribbon. Other finalists included an Afghan hound named Zeta, a Maltese named Cookie, an Old English sheepdog dubbed Graham, and a smooth fox terrier called Wager. The judge, 2-time Westminster winning handler David Fitzpatrick, called the lineup one that will go down in history. Each dog is assessed according to how closely it matches the ideal for its breed. The winner gets a trophy, ribbons, and bragging rights. A crowd favorite at the 2025 Westminster Show, Penny has rocked show rings since. A throng of handlers and other dog folk cheered for the seemingly undistractable dog and for Linton in early round action Tuesday afternoon. Ringside afterward, Penny politely but pointedly nudged her nose into her visitor's leg, looking for something, pets as it turned out. She's generally very chill, Linton said later, but she can get pretty pumped up for a bad guy or a squirrel. Co-owner Greg Chan of Toronto said Penny is very demanding and very smart, but she's also a pleaser. She'll do anything for food. Her favorite snack? Everything. Penny came out on top after 2,500 dogs, spanning more than 200 breeds, strutted their stuff at the show. Even if they didn't make the finals, there were plenty that scored memorable moments or lightened up the crowd. Over 2 nights of semifinals, spectators cheered extra loud for a dog named Calico, a hairless dog who went around the ring like he had nothing to prove. A Vizsla named Beamer charmed the audience by hopping into a box set out for his handler's tools, and Storm the Newfoundland got laughs when he jumped up on his handler, standing as tall as she. Spectators cheered so loud for a golden retriever named Oliver that they drowned out the arena's announcer, and chants of "Lumpy, Lumpy" resounded as Lumpy the Pekingese strolled before a judge. One dog that made history in the semifinals was Millie, a Danish-Swedish farm dog. The small, spry breed just became eligible for the Westminster show this year, and Millie bested about 10 other farm dogs Tuesday afternoon to get to the evening round. Westminster wins often go to pooches with professional handlers or owners with decades or even generations of experience behind them. But just reaching the elite, champions-only show is a major accomplishment in dogdom, especially for first-timers such as Joseph Carrero and his Neapolitan Mastiff, Desi. After yearning for a Neo since his teenage years, Carrero finally got one when he was 35. A heavy equipment operator from Indian Springs, Nevada, he started showing the dog only because the breeder wanted him to. Now, Carrero himself breeds and handles his Neos in the ring, while also working full-time and then some. "It's really hard for us to do this, but we enjoy it, and he enjoys it," Carrero said as a visitor gathered around to meet the jowly 190-pound dog. Warbles, which are formidable guard dogs originally from South Africa, played a major role in how Natalie Ridenour met her late husband and why she eventually left metropolitan life for a farm in Royce City, Texas. On Tuesday, Ridenour and a warble named Invictus did something else she once would never have pictured: compete at the Westminster show. The dog didn't advance past the first round, but as a passerby delightedly petted the 170-pound animal, Ridenour said, "Honestly, the big win is you're about the 50th person who's gotten down in his face and loved on him."
Crystal Quaid has been named the executive director of the Downtown Springfield Association. Coming to us from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Ryan Collins announces that former Missouri State Representative and Democratic gubernatorial candidate Crystal Quaid has been named the new executive director of the Downtown Springfield Association, or the DSA. Quaid's new role will officially begin on February 17, 2026, according to a DSA press release. As executive director of the association, Quaid will oversee strategic direction, operations, and partnerships, according to the release. Quaid will work closely with the DSA board, downtown stakeholders, and community leaders. "I'm honored to step into this role and excited to work alongside the Downtown Springfield Association board, staff, and community partners," Quaid said in the release. "Downtown Springfield is the heart of our community, and I look forward to building on its momentum while supporting the people and businesses that make it such a special place." Quaid joins the DSA at a pivotal time. Rusty Worley led the association for 19 years and stepped down from the role in May of 2025. Quaid's skills in community engagement, economic vitality, and collaborative leadership were some of the reasons she was chosen as the next DSA director, according to the release. Crystal Quaid brings a unique blend of leadership, vision, and a strong understanding of the challenges and opportunities facing downtown communities, Brian Matson, chair of the Downtown Springfield Association Board of Directors, said in the release. Her ability to bring people together make her the right leader to guide DSA into its next chapter. Quaid served as minority leader in the Missouri House of Representatives. After representing the 132nd District for 8 years, Quaid ran for governor as a Democrat in 2024, losing to Republican Mike Kehoe. And in further business news, Springfield's 5-pound apparel to close its downtown storefront and move online. Ryan Collins, reporting again from the Springfield Daily Citizen, says That a boutique business with a 15-year run in downtown Springfield will close its brick and mortar permanently, transitioning to an online-only sales model. 5 Pound Apparel, located at 412 South Avenue, will close its downtown storefront at the end of February, according to a company announcement on Facebook. After the last in-store sale, the Springfield-based clothing and apparel company will move exclusively to online sales. The storefront will tentatively close on March 1st. 5 Pound will continue to rent the downtown store to use as an online and wholesale warehouse through the end of 2026, the company said in the announcement. For the last 15 years, 5 Pound Apparel has been rooted right here in Springfield and the Ozarks, the company said in the Facebook post. That foundation has allowed the brand to grow beyond our four walls and reach customers far beyond our hometown. Over the past 5 years, we've intentionally grown our online and wholesale presence, creating new opportunities for 5 Pound to grow, connect, and make an impact in more places than ever before. 5 Pound Apparel donates 5 pounds of foods to Ozarks Food Harvest for every branded item sold. The company started around 2010, and Ben and Brianna Thomas purchased the business in 2017, according to the company website. The property at 412 South Avenue had more than 4,000 square feet and was owned by Valleyway Enterprises, LLC, according to Greene County Assessor's Office records. The property was appraised at nearly $430,000. Valleyway Enterprises was registered to Donald Simpson of Springfield, according to Missouri Secretary of State records.
And from the Good News Network, the headline is Record Harvest Dubbed the Potato Flood and Prompts Mass Spud Giveaways Across Berlin. We see a picture of potatoes being tossed from a truck. Gotta love potatoes. From Germany comes the story of mountains of potatoes as far as the eye can see, going to feed anyone and everyone in Berlin and nearby towns. For German potato farmers, the early winter potato harvest has been a bumper crop. No, a banner crop. Nay, it's a full-on food bank buster crop. The potato flood, as it's being called, has crashed on Berlin, with food banks, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, schools, kindergartens, churches, and even zoos taking a free share of the bounty. 2 whole semi-trucks were sent to Ukraine. At first, I thought it was some AI-generated fake news when I saw it on social media, Astrid Mars, a school teacher from Karlsdorf, outside Berlin, told The Guardian. There are pictures of huge mountains of earth apples. You can never be too careful these days, but the earth apple mountain was real. So real that Mars stopped counting after she stuffed the 150th potato into an old backpack. She had showed up at a distribution point where a nonprofit organization called 4,000 Tonnen was delivering them to whoever showed up. Organized by a Berlin newspaper with the help of a German eco-friendly nonprofit search engine, Ecosia, the name 4,000 tons comes from a single Leipzig potato farmer who had a 4,000-ton surplus after a December sale fell through. 4,000 Tonnen has visited 174 distribution points across Berlin and its suburbs, welcoming people with bags, boxes, and even wheelbarrows to carry off the spuds. Berlin has been gripped with freezing weather of late, exactly the kind of climate that welcomes a potato and leek soup, potatoes au gratin, or many other preparations that are being shared at the distribution points, The Guardian reports. Kate Connolly, reporting in Berlin for the outlet, notes that Germans consume more potatoes per capita than almost any other country, at more than 120 pounds per person per year. During the Prussian imperial days, the Potato Edict commanded farmers to cultivate the South American crop as a new staple, and ever since, Kartoffel has been the preeminent vegetable in the country. Celebrity Michelin-starred chef Marco Mueller of the Rutz restaurant, Berlin, has already taken advantage of the event to put the spuds to work in his restaurant, using them to make a luscious potato broth made from the slow-roasted skins. If not eaten, they will likely be sent to a landfill to decay away into methane gas, which, while lasting a fraction of the time in the atmosphere as CO2, has a much stronger contribution to the greenhouse effect in the atmosphere.
Flock cameras help police arrest Texas murder suspect in Ozark after Amber Alert. Zoe McIntyre at the Springfield Daily Citizen Brings us a story that says a Texas man who is a suspect in a murder investigation was arrested in Ozarks on Saturday, January 31st, after allegedly abducting a child. Raymond Isaac Carmona, age 20, is a suspect in a possible homicide that occurred in Mansfield, Texas on January 30th, according to the Amber Alert broadcast on Saturday afternoon. Carmona also allegedly kidnapped 4-year-old Ephraim Joaquin Carmona from Mansfield, Texas, around 2 a.m. on January 30th. The suspect was arrested in Ozarks shortly after the 2:25 p.m. Amber Alert broadcast, according to Missouri State Highway Patrol Sergeant Mike McClure. Following is a photo of Raymond Isaac Carmona. It's a mugshot from the Christian County Jail in his orange and white striped uniform. About 8 minutes after the alert, the vehicle was spotted in Ozarks through the Flock system, he said, referencing Flock Safety's license plate reading cameras. A trooper with MSHP made the stop and arrested Carmona, while Ozark police officers recovered the child, who was unharmed. Carmona may be related to the child, according to information local law enforcement received from Texas. McClure said MSHP does not know why the suspect traveled into Missouri. Carmona was booked into the Christian County Jail on a 24-hour hold Saturday on suspicion of third-degree kidnapping. Formal charges did not appear on CaseNet, Missouri's online court database, and a note was added to Carmona's profile on the jail roster reading, PA declined to file. Prosecuting attorney Kristen Tui said the note indicates there were no charges filed in Christian County within 24 hours after Carmona was booked into the jail. He was still listed on the jail's roster as of Monday afternoon, indicating that he is being held on a warrant from somewhere else.
From KY3, City prepares for busy pothole season after last week's storm. Springfield drivers are starting to see more potholes after last week's winter weather. The city said freezing and thawing cycles are to blame, and crews are preparing for what they expect to be a busy few weeks. Public Works says it spends about $140,000 per year fixing potholes, a cost already built into the city's overall street maintenance budget. Dustin Keys, street maintenance supervisor, said potholes typically increase this time of year. Normally in the late winter, early spring, we'll see an uptick in potholes. That happens with like freeze-thaw cycles. The water gets down in the pavement, freezes, busts, creates an uptick in them, and then potholes. Keys says that they haven't seen a surge yet, but they expect more reports as the season goes on. We anticipate that to increase as we get into like late winter, early spring. That's whenever we see a large uptick in potholes. On a typical year, crews fill between 2,500 and 3,000 potholes, focusing on major routes. We try to focus on our primary routes, but we won't ignore all the other pothole requests that we get in so many areas. Some car tire repair shops say they see more drivers coming in to fix damage between January and April, but they aren't sure whether the increase is directly tied to potholes. Keys says streets with repeated issues may get more than a temporary patch. If we do see a large amount of potholes in those areas, we'll focus on a more permanent fix or a complete overlay for those kind of streets. Crews are also using a new patch truck, though the process remains mostly the same.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. Thank you very much for tuning in and have